right, I've been promising you a bookshelf tour for quite a while now, and well, it's probably about time I did it, I guess. As you can see, there's quite a lot around. Let's get started over here. So this is probably the biggest book that's in this flat. It belongs to my wife, the Fate and Atlas of 21st Century World Architecture. It comes with its own little green plastic carrier, which is in quite bad disrepair. And let's get started with the Barnes & Noble's classics. So all of these books you can actually see on on my channel. I've reviewed all of them, I think. There might be a few at the end of this video that I've not reviewed, or at least given you a quick overview of, especially the paperbacks. But actually that's what this video is for, is to give you an idea of what I have on my shelves there. So yeah, so Dracula, Cthulhu Mythos, classic horror stories, Penny Dreadful, Jules Verne, Gods and Heroes. Got the complete tales and poems of Edgar Allan Poe. Grey's Anatomy, Le Morte d'Arthur, the Bronte sisters, Aesop's illustrated fables, Grimm's complete fairy tales, the Arabian Nights, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. This one's a really particularly beautiful one. This is Hans Christian Andersen's classic fairy tales, The Picture of Dorian Gray and Other Stories by Oscar Wilde. Got the Divine Comedy, The Complete Sherlock Holmes, Tales of Norse Mythology, the complete works of William Shakespeare, and Dune. And back over here we've got the Everyman's Children's Collection, which I just love. It brings some light into the room, actually. It's really like those that gold on there, and the colours are just great. So what do we have? We've got The Happy Prince, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, Black Beauty, The Railway Children, The Little Red Riding Hood. There we go. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. We've got English fairy tales. We've got Ride a Cock Horse and Other Rhymes and Stories, which is really nice. Got Anne of Green Gables, Pinocchio, The Wind in the Willows, A Book of Nonsense, Edward Lear, a nice one as well. Peter Pan, Treasure Island, Just So Stories, The Secret Garden. Very nice. Down here, just two books for the moment, next to the speaker for my TV. And this is actually a book that my grandfather put together, which is all the documents. Let me just open that for you. It might be quite cool to see. These are all the documents that he found in the local churches and registries relating to the marriages and death certificates of my ancestors, going back to the 17th century, I believe. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. There's How to See Fairies by Charles Van Sandwyck, which I haven't reviewed for you yet, but that's coming very soon. Down here, all my oversized books. We've got The Arrival, Sean Tan. I don't think I've reviewed that yet. It's wonderful, beautiful graphic novel with no words. The Wicked Grimoire, which is a souvenir from the show. The Flower of Battle, which I reviewed very recently. This is the larger Arcturus edition of the Divine Comedy, illustrated by Gustave Doré. This is Brian Froud's Fairies. We've got The Tree Show, which is a nice limited edition by Mark Ryden. Pretty crazy art in there. We've got A Life with Illustration, which is a biography of Arthur Rackham. I think these are just some pictures. This one is Visions of Enchantment. And this very silly demonic book, Touch Me Not, or pseudo-demonic book anyway. And some souvenirs from Hamilton. This is my J.R.R. Tolkien collection. I don't have them in chronological order. I think that having them in colour order is much more satisfying. So The Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion, The Children of Húrin, The Hobbit, Beren and Luthien, The Tales from the Perilous Realm, and The Fall of Gondolin, which I haven't reviewed yet. That'll come very shortly as well. And then Letters from Father Christmas. So let's have a look over here. Over here we've got most of my kind of esoteric and occult books on the left-hand side. Yep, so let me show you. Over here we've got Moon Law, Aurora by Gabriel McCowry, which is, has to be one of the most beautiful esoteric books that I own. This Weird Stone of Brisingamen may seem out of place here, but actually having just read it to my son, it's absolutely in the right place. It's a 50th anniversary edition, which is reasonably nice, and it happens to be the same height as the others. So, The Devil's Supper, The Testament of Cyprian the Mage, Holy Daemon, by Freta Asher. And this one is, it's actually Lucifer Princeps, which I've had to cover because the people who visit the flat may take offense. It's a very beautiful book, and it attracts the eye, and so I have to be careful with the books that I have on display. There we go. Here we've got mystic volumes with, so all good things. Psychology and Alchemy by Carl Jung. Theatrum Chemicum Britannicum. The Revelations of Divine Love by Julianne of Norwich, which I've very recently received. It's a lovely Folio Society book, and I'm looking forward to reviewing that for you. Over here we've got the Occult books, Occult 0 and Occult 1, both being alchemical revival books by Joseph Uccello. Really, really lovely. I'm really looking forward to him releasing Occult 2, but there's no news about it. It was supposed to be released in September of last year. Next we've got The Great Transformation by Karen Armstrong. Mythology, Gods and Heroes. A Dangerous Mystic, which is a fascinating book about Meister Eckhart. Strong recommendation there. And The Splendor Solace, of course. It's a little bit of a mix over here. We've got the Norton Anthology of English Literature, which belongs to my wife. She studied English at university. Towards the Psychology of Awakening, again, when my wife and I were studying to be teachers of religious studies. My own lacuna was in Islam, and my wife's lacuna was in Buddhism, and we've kind of kept the best books that we acquired during that time, and this was one of them. Ideas by Peter Watson. Prometheus Rising and Quantum Psychology by Robert Anton Wilson. If you want your mind blown, this is probably the right place to start. Houston Smith, Forgotten Truth. This is a tiny book, and it's very close to my heart. When I started finding out about perennialism, the idea that there is a single thread of truth that permeates all of the various traditions, geographically and historically, I discovered Houston Smith was in fact a perennialist Christian. Alchemy and Mysticism, and then my three lovely Ouroboros Press books, other than the Theatrum, of course. The Secret Commonwealth, which happens to be exactly the same height as those three, and with a very similar dust jacket as well, so that's really nice. Japonism, which is one of my wife's books. I'm unlikely to do a review of this actually, so just to give you an idea, some nice Japanese concepts, and it's just a cute little book. There we go. And then the Tibetan Book of the Dead. There we go. Just quite again, reasonably nice little edition there. Yes, it's a nice buckram. Shambhala Library. All right, next we've got my Esoteric paperbacks. Homemade Magic, Indra's Net, which is alchemy and chaos theory as models for transformation. Fascinating read. The Woman Magician. Again, this is one of my wife's volumes, which I haven't read, but she says it's quite good. Magical States of Consciousness, which is a path-working book by Denning and Phillips. Next we've got Six Ways by Alan Wachter, and I think that this is probably the best place to start if you're just getting started with esoteric concepts and so on there. Hands-on Chaos Magic, very nice practical book. And we've got Holy Guardian Angel, various techniques for getting in contact with one's own. The Sword and the Serpent, which is one of the, I think there are 3 books of magical philosophy by Denning and Phillips. Living Thelema. I am less and less interested in Thelema, but maybe my mind will change later on in my life. Experiences of Inner Worlds, this is Gareth Knight. This is the Grimorium Verum, the True Grimoire by Jake Stratton Kent. Next we've got QBL. This was a strong recommendation from one of the salespeople in Watkins Books, and I have not got round to reading that one yet. This is Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot by Lon Milo Duquette. There's a new edition of this one. This is the older edition, which is a fascinating read. Low Magic, the huge classic, again by Lon Milo Duquette. The Key to Solomon's Key, which I haven't got around to reading yet. Son of Chicken Kabbalah and the Chicken Kabbalah itself. And there's Israel Regardie's The 1 Year Manual, and then there's Climbing the Tree of Life by David Rankin. We've got a couple of books that I won't show you. We've got Seven Spheres by Rufus Opus. We've got The Clavis, or Key to the Magic of Solomon. Beautiful, beautiful book. Sworn Book of Honorius, The Picatrix, 2 editions of. The 4th book of Occult Philosophy, Ritual Offerings, which I gave quite a cruel review to. It's a fantastic book. As I said in the review, the contents are priceless. The Arbatel, wonderful place to start in grimoiric magic. The Book of Abramelin, by translation by George Den. The Book of English Magic, which I managed to get in hardcover. I was very pleased with. The 6th and 7th books of Moses. The Golden Dawn, the 7th edition. We've got the 3 books of Occult Philosophy by Agrippa. And then we've got my Golden Horde books, the Complete Magician's Tables, the Magical Treatise of Solomon, the Goetia of Dr. Rudd, the Mysteries of Magic, the Lesser Key of Solomon, and the Book of Oberon. So then we're moving on to slightly more mainstream fare. It is the Academy of the Sword, translated by John Michael Greer. Then we've got my Sandman volumes. I wish I could afford an absolute edition, but it's not on the cards quite yet. Sandman Overture and Deluxe Edition. We've got Death by Neil Gaiman, which is, of course, just annexed to the Sandman volumes. We've got The Invisibles, all 4 volumes. We've got the 2 currently published volumes of Promethea in its deluxe edition. White, which is my wife's book, published by the White Company. It's about interior design. William Blake, The Complete Illuminated Books. My 2 Call of Cthulhu role-playing games. We've got the Keeper's Manual and the Keeper's Screen. Swedish Folk Tales, The Art of C.G. Jung. Turner, London's Underground, The Game of Saturn, La Fontaine, illustrated by Gustave Doré. This is Jean de La Fontaine's Fables, the deluxe edition of Monstrous, Volume 1. This is my wife's Polish edition of the Atlas of Middle-earth, which is kind of nice on under the dust cover. The Watchmen. We've got Crisis on Infinite Earths. We've got Green Lantern, Rebirth. And then we've got all of my DC collection, which I have already shown you in another video. A couple of books on cinematography and screen acting, a screen acting workshop, a short film making. We've got Botany for the Gardener, the Royal Horticulture Society. Got Russell Brand's The Pied Piper, Jamie Oliver's Veg, screenwriting for the screen, Photos That Changed the World, a couple of Taschen interior design books, cinematography. So all of these are they're all my wife's books. The Golden Book of Poland, another book on Gdansk, the new book of herbs, and a Polish book on photography. Then we've got the travel book by The Lonely Planet. Got London Theatres, a book on Robert Doisneau's photography. 100 Contemporary Houses by Taschen, it's a very nice edition. China Living, The Art of East Asia, and Art, the Definitive Visual Guide. Paddington, Hans Christian Andersen, facsimile. And we've got the 4 currently available Harry Potters, which are illustrated. The other non-illustrated ones are still in my son's bedroom. This is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne, the French edition. Got Grimm's Fairy Tales and The Wind in the Willows. Next we've got Song of Ice and Fire by George R. Martin, the 5 existing volumes. And a couple of hardcover fictional books, this being the 3 Body Problem trilogy, The Priory of the Orange, which is just a really beautiful cover. My wife is halfway through reading that. This is The Starless Sea. Check out how cool that is. Yeah. Again, that's my wife's. And a couple of Wizard of Oz, Barnes & Noble's editions that didn't really fit with the other kind of darker editions over there. But actually it fits quite well with the others that are here. After that we've got the J.R. Tolkien books. These are the versions that I actually handle rather than the much prettier ones over there, which are a bit more for show. Probably the nicest translation of the Divine Comedy, which is the Everyman edition. The Philip K. Dick anthologies, The King in Yellow, William James and Meister Eckhart. These are 2 books that are quite close to my heart, and the centenary edition of the Kybalion. Up here we've got all my regular religious texts, the Holy Bible, the Tao Te Ching, the Orphic hymns, the Nag Hammadi library. As you can see, this copy is pretty old, pretty battered. I could really do with a replacement. Yeah. The interpretation of the meanings of the Noble Quran, so the English translation. The Polish edition of the Bible, the Perennial Philosophy. This is the first edition. The Holy Bible, the one that I actually read through and through. The Dhammapada, being a very touching Buddhist sacred text. And I've got my Oxford World's Classics hardcovers, the collected ghost stories, the Iliad, the Odyssey, the Victorian fairy tales, the Great God Pan and other horror stories, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Gothic tales, Christmas Carol, and the Poetic Edda or Eda. All these are the 2 leather-bound or maybe probably bonded leather editions by Paramahansa Yogananda, being the Bhagavad Gita with commentary. Very, very interesting. Second Coming of Christ, same thing, being the Gospels with fascinating commentary. The Wellsprings of Faith and the Book of Common Prayer, the Folio Society edition, which is, again, absolutely gorgeous with woodcuts by or inspired by Albrecht Dürer. Next we've got the I Ching, the exegesis of Philip K. Dick, sex psychology and spirituality, being Ken Wilber's opus magnum, integral life practice, again Ken Wilber. A couple of books by Richard Rohr. So this is the Enneagram, this is Hope Against Darkness. A couple of others here, Things Hidden and Everything Belongs, by Richard Rohr. Another Ken Wilber book here, The Theory of Everything. And then we've got two perennialist anthologies, The Betrayal of Tradition and The Essential Sophia. Just moving down over here, we've got the Sufi Doctrine of Rumi. Let me see if I can show you how nicely illustrated that is. Very cool. The Egyptian Mythology, The Joy of Living, by Yongey Mingyo Rinpoche. Survey of Buddhism, which was, oh, I love this book so much. Meditation for the Love of It. Again, such a horrible cover and a title that's very, very misleading, with a foreword by a completely inappropriate author just to sell the book. Which I'm hoping worked. I really, Sally Campton, your work is so wonderful. I hope that all of this wasn't a mistake in marketing. If you want a book on meditation, a serious book on meditation, on esoteric practices involving meditation and so on, this really is the book for you. Mindfulness in Plain English. Again, these are books that my wife picked up when she was studying Buddhism. Lucid Dreaming, Yoga Games for Children, Vision and Transformation, which I have not read, but my wife swears by. Change Your Mind, another introduction to Buddhism. I'll put that back later. Heart of Islam by Syed Hossein Nasr. I loved this book so much, so much. Syed Hossein Nasr is a perennialist who is coming from the Muslim tradition, and his understanding of where love is in Islam is just beautiful. It's just really wonderful. The Doors of Perception. It's an early edition. It's just not the first edition. The Philosopher's Secret Fire, Food of the Gods, The Cosmic Serpent, the psychedelic books on the origins of knowledge, thought, and so on and so forth, consciousness. And the Autobiography of a Yogi, very strange, very interesting. Okay, so I think that's everything covered from that bookshelf. Moving over here to the kind of Misfits. We've got, this is a book that I wrote. There we go, How to Experience God Without Religion. I do not recommend getting the rubbish paperback, which I've not been able to edit. However, the Kindle edition is quite nice. To be honest with you, if you're over the age of 15, this probably isn't for you. The God of Small Things. We've got Flights by Olga Tokarczuk. Got Shantaram. The Collected Stories of Roald Dahl. The Gift, another Olga Tokarczuk book, but this one in Polish. The Dalai Lama Stages of Meditation. Buddha by Karen Armstrong. Will Storr, The Science of Storytelling, a couple of writing books. How to Write a Damn Good Novel. These two are very well written, very useful. And these are a couple of my books that are too long to fit anywhere else. They're Miss Dai, Beginner's Guide to Digital Painting in Photoshop, and a souvenir book that we brought back from Yangshuo when we were visiting China. In the back over there, oh boy, second row, so we've got Chaos, Creativity and Cosmic Consciousness. And we've got The Physics of Angels. Yeah, they would be more prominent if I liked them better. We've got two books by Patrick Rothfuss, The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear. They're fantastic books, but until the third one comes out, I will not be getting any nice editions of those. Number 9 Dream, and then we've got my wife's guilty pleasures over there. Next, we've got Feng Shui, a book of Japanese manners, which I had to pick up when we were in Tokyo, because we were realizing that we were going around offending everyone, and it turns out that, we were doing many things quite wrong. This book really helped. Meditating with Mandalas, Briefer History of Time, Influence, which is such a good book. Emotional Intelligence, Alan Carr's The Easy Way to Enjoy Flying. I stopped smoking 20 years ago with The Easy Way to Stop Smoking, which I bought because I thought the title was funny. How could it possibly be easy to stop smoking? And then when I met my wife and she was afraid of flying, I bought her this, and it really helped her as well. Feel the Fear, Do It Anyway. The Bodhikarayavatara. Don't know how to pronounce that. Move Your Stuff, Change Your Life. That's another Feng Shui book. The Path of the Empress. It's another one of my wife's books. Dalekie Podróże. It's I don't know what that is. That's my wife's. And A Course in Miracles. There we go, and that's kind of all of my books, and my wife's books. There's a whole bedroom full of children's books, but I might as well show you some of the board games I've got here. Again, most of my board games are in my bedroom. This is actually the Polish version of Hanami Koji. This is probably the best two-player game that 10 quid can afford. It's absolutely fantastic. Carcassonne, Splendor, Sagrada, Wrath of Ashardalon, which is a fantastic dungeon crawler. Blood Rage, probably my favourite game to play with 4 players. Mr. Jack, which is nice for 2. Elder Sign, which is not fantastic until you add the Gates of Arkham expansion, at which point it becomes so good that I've got rid of the original Arkham Horror game, which this has completely replaced for me. And there's Arkham Horror, the card game, for which I have many expansions elsewhere. Snakes and Ladders, which is my son's favourite game, another little game for my son. This is my first Stone Age, which my son really enjoys playing as well, based on the adult edition just called Stone Age, which is a fantastic worker placement game. There's a little expansion for Blood Rage there. Seventh Continent, which is just awesome. I need to do a review of that for you guys. Pandemic, the biggest classic ever, the only game that my wife will accept to play with me pretty much. Once you've played this, you absolutely have to play Pandemic Legacy. I know people say you can only play it once, but actually you play it between 12 and 24 times, and there aren't many games that you can say that you've played more than 12 times. Treasure Hunters and Tainted Grail with the miniatures add-on, which I have also reviewed on my channel. So there we go. Those are my bookshelves. I may or may not do a review of my son's books in his bedroom at some point. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and to subscribe down below. I have reviewed most of these books, so you can check out my channel if there's anything you've seen that you would like to see. Thanks very much for watching, and see you very soon. Bye.